She's a woman whose story is stitched with both heartbreak and hope. After enduring an unimaginable pain of miscarriages and then the stillbirth of her baby, she finally welcomed a baby daughter into the world. A birth shattered by fear and the weight of grief. When her marriage fell apart, she raised her daughter as a single mother. She worked 3 jobs, she built and sold 2 homes, and she opened her home to over 60 international students. Somehow through it all, holding on to joy, with a fierce independence, a solid circle of friendships, and a laugh that lights up a room. She's proof that life after loss can still be rich, wild, and beautiful. Welcome, Billie.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
It is my absolute pleasure to have you here today. Can you start by telling me a little bit about who you are today and what your days look like and what brings you joy right now?
My days. So I'm working in IT, which I never thought that I would say, because I'm not very technical at all. But working in IT, I have my other job as a bookkeeper for a jewelry gallery, which I absolutely love, and I have a skincare business on the side. So life is very, very busy, and when I can, I get out in nature and I spend as much time as I can with family and friends.
And what kind of nature are we talking?
Getting out into the trees. So I'm very, very lucky. 7 years ago, I built my second home and that overlooks bushland. And honestly, I walk through the door at night time and I just see trees and it just calms me. It's exactly what I need. Life has been so busy for so long. I would say the last 20 years have been a whirlwind. So yeah, I just need nature. So if ever life starts to get a little bit too overwhelming, I find myself just going for a walk in nature, and that's what brings me the calm that I need and the
Oh,
joy.
bushwalking is beautiful.
It is.
It's the sound of the birds and the trees, and yeah, I agree.
It's kind of it's getting back to the ground. It's grounding yourself and just the fresh air, realizing that you're actually quite insignificant, surrounded by all of the trees, the bushland, nature, and just being in something so natural is it it just grounds me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mhm.
And so you have a beautiful daughter. Tell us a little bit about her.
She is incredible. She is 19 years old now. She is extremely driven. She is already quite successful in her young life. She's done very, very well with her studies, with work. She's an exemplary human. It hasn't always been an easy road, solo parenting, but I have to say that through it all, we've always maintained this amazing bond, despite some of the butting of heads that we've had over the years. But as she gets older, our relationship just gets stronger and stronger. She's a joy. She truly is a joy. And I am beyond proud of her. Beyond proud.
So, can I just say she's driven, she is doing well at school, she works hard. Where does she get that
I don't
from?
know.
And that's why you'll be butting heads because you're so similar,
Probably,
right? So
probably.
she's watched her mum
Yeah,
drive.
yeah,
She's watched her mum strive. So of course, naturally, she's going to do that.
yeah.
And then also growing up with a single mum, you know, she's had to navigate both parents, 2 houses.
Yes,
Oh, well done you. Well
yes. And it
done you. She
hasn't
sounds
always been
amazing.
easy. Thank you. It hasn't always been easy for her, but she's risen above all of the challenges.
Good. And I understand your journey. It was marked by profound loss. Are you comfortable telling me a little bit about that story?
Yeah, I am. So my daughter is really a 3 in 1. So prior to giving birth to Sophie, my daughter, I delivered 2 baby girls sleeping in 9 months. So the story starts back to when I was living in England. So I was fortunate to live in England for 7 years. That was where I met my husband. I had
How
a
old were you?
I was 22 when I moved to London, and we started trying for a baby when I was 28. 27, 28, 28. I was living an incredibly busy life. I was working in investment banking. I was pulling 10 to 12 hours a day. hours at work. I was traveling 3 hours on the train, all up, getting to and from work. So life was incredibly busy in the UK, and my body clearly was not ready to have a baby, despite having tried for several months. So we had a couple of months off before we left the UK, flew back to Australia, fell pregnant straight away. My parents were absolutely thrilled to bits. So excited to finally become grandparents. They adored my husband. So the beginning of the pregnancy was like many others, morning sickness, but then at 9 weeks, I had a bleed. Went to the hospital, got checked out. Fortunately, my baby was still okay. Then went through, had all of the regular tests, and then at the 20-week scan, when I had the nuchal neck fold scan, they found that there was some thickening. So I had an amniocentesis and waited the 2 weeks for the results. Everything was fine. Happy days continued on.
And that 2 weeks is really
It
difficult.
was horrendous, horrendous.
Horrendous.
And then at 28 weeks, I went back to the obstetrician for a regular checkup. She said, "I'm so sorry, Billie, your baby has died." It was horrendous. I was doing a temp assignment in the city at the time. My then husband was 50 minutes away. He had to fly into Wickham Terrace. I was in hospital that night. I had to deliver my baby sleeping because obviously she was at 28 weeks.
Billie, did you have any sense? What were you going to the doctor for? Was there a sense that something was not quite right?
No, because it was my first pregnancy. Haley had kicked on and off, but as a first time mother, you just don't know these things. And back
So
then,
there wasn't a concern, it was a standard checkup.
it was a standard checkup, yeah. Yeah, so I was really shocked. So delivered Haley sleeping. They did tell me that it could take 24 hours. She was delivered in 6 hours, so very fortunate it wasn't too traumatic.
Did
That's in the maternity ward. We then had Haley. My mum was incredible. She nursed Haley for hours, gave her so much love. And then you leave the hospital after having been
Billie,
full of hope.
oh,
So
Billie.
went home devastated, but determined to be pregnant again. Determined. I could not think of anything else. 3 months later, pregnant again. This time, Hannah, so two baby girls. So Hannah, she also made me feel incredibly sick. 8 weeks, another bleed. Look, here we go again.
I bled through all of my pregnancies.
Did you?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
horrendous.
yeah.
It's so
But
terrifying.
I was used to it from the first one. So I knew that I was a bleeder throughout pregnancy.
Yeah. This is massive clots.
Okay.
This is my husband came home and you would have thought someone had died. It was horrendous. So the next morning, back to the obstetrician, checked everything out. No, all good. So continued on with the pregnancy. This time, the 20-week test, no problems. Great, we're going to have this baby, thank God. We get to 22 weeks. I hadn't felt the baby kick for about 24 hours. I said to my husband, I'm just not sure about this. So he said, babe, you'll be fine. So I went to work. I was chatting to this beautiful receptionist who is still a very dear friend of mine, Daisy, where I worked. And she said, darling, you're a bit worried about this, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. And 10 minutes later, she came to see me and she said, Mark, the manager, is giving us his car. We're going to St Andrew's Hospital to get you checked out. Got checked out, no heartbeat. So then had to call my husband again. So my husband and I drove into the city. It was a 50-minute journey. It felt like 3 hours. Got in to see Nikki, our obstetrician. She did the scan and she said, I'm so sorry, your baby has died again. She was devastated because she was probably about 50 years old at the time. She'd lost 7 babies in her career. 2 were mine in 3 months. So again, the same process. Bring mum and dad. They come to Brisbane from Toowoomba, devastated. I think it's harder on grandparents because they're grieving the loss of a grandchild and seeing their daughter and son-in-law absolutely devastated.
Mm-hmm.
delivered Hannah, and she was perfectly plump, perfectly pink. It was so unfair. And then I was taken upstairs into out of maternity, and they brought her up in a shoebox with a flower, which was awful, but I think they were trying to be nice. But it's just so difficult, Belle, and you can hear babies crying, and all you can think about is being a mother. And at that time, it was
And you
incredibly
are a mother.
difficult.
You were a mother twice.
I was for a short time,
Mm.
yeah. But the girls are always with me, especially Hayley. She comes through. Maybe not so much Hannah, but Hayley always comes through if I have a reading. Um, so yeah, we went home and we got on with our lives. I would make up excuses as to why I couldn't go to friends' babies' christenings, things like that. There were times I just couldn't cope with knowing that they had their babies and I didn't. Actually, it wasn't so much that, it was just the fact that I didn't have my
It was
baby.
unfair,
I've
Billie. It was unfair.
So unfair. I've always been so happy for everyone else's success and things that come to them. So there's never been jealousy, but it was for me was a reminder of what I'd lost. That's why I couldn't go to those christenings and sometimes first birthdays and things.
Completely understandable. When you received Hannah, what what could the nurses have delivered her in to you in your arms that wouldn't have been awful, like the shoebox with the flower? What could they have done?
In the little bassinet, if they just wheeled her up in the bassinet, that would have been better for
Or
me.
even just wrapped,
Yeah,
and
and
just
given to me.
given.
Yes, yes, yeah. It was a very strange
It was
sight
cold.
to look at a shoebox with my baby
Not a real
inside it.
shoebox,
A real
like a
shoebox.
Reebok box.
Yeah,
For God's sakes.
yeah. So, and it wasn't intentional on their part. They wouldn't have thought anything of it. But for me, because it was such a personal experience, it was very hard
It was
hitting.
cold.
Yeah, yeah.
So you go home, you ask why me in your head. How were things with your husband? I don't mean your relationship at this point. I mean, was he able to, were you able to come together and console one another?
Yes, we were, but I went through some really difficult times. He was wonderful. He didn't allow himself to grieve either time. He just stayed strong for me. In the 14 years we were together, I only ever saw him cry twice. And after losing Haley, he cried. The second time I think he was just shocked, to
He
be
was
honest.
numb.
Probably numb, yes. I would say numb.
And so you went back to work.
Oh, yes. Both times I just went back to work and got busy.
Yeah.
That's just what I do.
It's the eternal busy.
It's the internal, yes, absolutely. And look, I'm from a very working class family. My parents are exemplary humans. They gave me and my brother they were the most wonderful role models for us. And I just went back to what I knew. So I was busy, I was kicking goals at work, I was focusing on getting pregnant again, but I spent the next 18 months getting my body ready.
How did you
After
do that? How did you do that? What did you do?
I I read a lot. I looked for inspirational stories of women who had lost babies and then were able to go on to have babies in the future. Rather than wallowing in my own self pity, I looked to how I could have a baby. I sought out natural therapies. I was going to a fellow at Mount Omni who was doing acupuncture and lighting like a cone on my belly button. He said my uterus was cold, so he was warming it up,
Good.
making it, more enticing for a baby to grow.
Great.
So I just sought out anything positive to have the outcome that we desperately wanted.
There was serious determination.
Serious
This was
determination.
not a case of case closed. This was Billie is on the task.
Absolutely. And it was never why me,
No.
ever. I will say that I got angry at times. I would go to our local shopping centre. There'd be a 16-year-old girl with a baby in her belly, a toddler beside her, having a go at them, yelling at them, and it
Oh,
would make me really angry
yes.
because when you lose a baby, you question what you did. It's my fault.
What did I do? Yes.
It was that half a glass of wine that I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. Why
It,
did I work 12-hour days, you know?
it was you as and particularly as a mother, it's your body. It's your body that has let you down. It's you. It's something that you've done. That's the thought. But through all of the things that have happened in my life, and so much more has happened to me since then, everything happens for a reason, is what I believe. And I also believe, and not everybody does, we have a path laid out for us. There's sliding doors, but there is a path laid out for
I
us.
stand with you. I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely. So I believe that all you can do is keep working towards the goals that you have set yourself, but ultimately the universe will decide which path you take.
So 18 months goes by. You've now worked on your health. You've worked on
Yes,
your mental health. You've worked on your physical health, and you have sought healing.
yes.
And then we try again, do
And
we?
then we are pregnant.
Wow.
And we were thrilled to bits. I was nervous. I was very nervous. Did I bleed? Yes.
Of course.
Again, throughout the pregnancy. Not massive bleeds this time.
Dark or red?
Red.
Were they red with the
Fresh.
first two?
They were big, horrible clots.
Right. Whereas mine was always just dark old.
Yeah, no, this is fresh red.
Yep.
So I was very sick in the beginning, and then at about 30 weeks, oh, sorry, I'll go back. My obstetrician was determined to deliver me a live baby. I had scans every 2 weeks by a professor.
So hang on. Oh, this is just such an emotional one for me, Billie. So you're saying to me it was and those scans were driven by your obstetrician. She was the
Absolutely.
one saying, you know what, little miss, we are having a scan every 2 weeks for this
Absolutely.
baby, and we will be delivering a
Absolutely.
live human.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yes. So every 2 weeks, we traipsed into Wickham Terrace. We had our scan. We were told everything was okay. Massive sigh of relief. I was very much waiting for the movement as well from the baby because this is now number 3.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Did you
I
sometimes think about like eating something that you know triggers movement?
No, not really. No, I didn't think about anything like that. So had the 20-week scan, absolutely no problem. I was very much in tune with the baby's movements. And then at 30 weeks, I got really sick with a really, really bad cold. A really bad cold. I had fevers, I had sweats, I just wasn't well. I was terrified to take anything. I was also on low dose aspirin. That's another thing that they had me on, because they couldn't work out why I was losing babies.
So were they thinking there might have been a clot in the
Maybe,
umbilical cord and that
maybe.
the aspirin will...
Avoid that.
Yeah.
Yes. So I had low dose aspirin all the way through. That was all I had. I was so sick and I didn't know what to do. So I drove all the way to Toowoomba to our family GP of 30 years. And I said to Mark, can I take anything? He said, mate, penicillin is fine. So I took penicillin, started to feel okay. But you know what I was thinking when I was really sick? Yes, this baby's strong. She's taking it out of me. And I thought, I don't care how unwell I feel, as long as this little one, she gets stronger. That was what I wanted.
And how was your anxiety and concern throughout these 30 weeks so far?
You know what? My subconscious was probably terrified all the way through, but in my mind, third
Determination?
time lucky.
Yeah.
Not things happen in threes. It's third time lucky. It's going to be
Yes.
okay. It's going to be okay.
She's the Holy Trinity.
100%. And I had so much love and support from friends. And can I tell you, my mum was working at Heritage at the time, and all of her customers would come in and ask after me. And there were these two ladies who worked, they had a cafe in Toowoomba, and one of them was very religious. She flew to Sydney to the church she had been a part of, and the entire congregation prayed for me. This is late in my pregnancy. I've got goosebumps saying that.
I have tears and goosebumps.
I had so many people rooting for this baby to come out. It was
Have you ever told
extraordinary.
Sophie this?
Maybe not so much in
You need to
this
tell her. Just get her
detail.
to listen to this
Oh,
podcast.
absolutely. Yes, I should. So then we get to 34 weeks, and I have another 2 week scan. And the professor says, look, there's been a bit of a change in your umbilical cord. I'll speak to Nikki and we'll see what to do.
And
Well,
so back in those days, we're talking 19 years ago, they like to keep a baby in utero till what, 36 weeks
at
minimum?
least,
At
at least
least.
36
So
weeks.
not
Yes,
34. And where were you sitting?
34.
You were sitting at 34.
So I walked out of the appointment, called my mum, who was on tenterhooks for the entire pregnancy, and
Mm.
dad. I called mum, and my mum is this incredibly elegant, well-spoken, intelligent, strong lady. She keeps things together. She's truly the matriarch of our family. She broke down. Love, can't the baby's alive? Can't they just take the baby now?
I agree with
I
your
said,
mom.
no, no, Ma, it's okay.
No, it's not. I agree with your mom.
I had so much faith in the professor, and I was so in the zone of it's going to be okay.
So had he said we need to hold on 2 more weeks,
He said, let's just check it out in 2 weeks' time.
casually?
Yeah.
And what about your obstetrician?
She was in agreement. That was Monday. Tuesday morning, she rang. She said, hey, I've been thinking, do you want to have a baby next Monday?
Yes.
And that's exactly how she said it. And
And
I
so
said, yeah, I'd really like
is
to.
that 35 weeks?
That's at 35 weeks.
Mm.
So that light just went out.
That's okay.
Okay. So that's at 35 weeks. And
That could be Haley or Hannah
oh my
letting you
gosh.
know that they're here. If that one goes out, it's one of them and that's the other.
Oh my goodness. Or my dad.
Or your dad. Mm.
Oh my goodness. I have a
That's never
story
gone
about
out
dad
before.
as well.
And yeah, that bulb is not a changeable bulb. So, mm.
So then we get to 35 weeks. Nikki calls the next day. Would you like to have a baby next week? I said, yeah, I'd really like to. So Nikki said to me, would you like to have the baby naturally or cesarean? Now, I'm not a wimp and I don't take the easy way out of. But I said, you know what, Nikki? I delivered Haley and Hannah within 6 hours and 5 hours when you said it'd be 24. So obviously I have babies quite easily, but can we just do a Caesar?
Yeah,
We just get the baby
I
out.
think just safe and sound.
Yes.
I agree.
So went in the following Monday.
Was there kicking that week? Lots of movement?
Yes,
Because there should
yes.
be lots of movement.
Yeah, just, I don't remember there being, it was just a normal week.
Yep.
I was just working towards Monday. It's going to be okay, in my mind. And went in, they do a scan of the baby to make sure the baby's moving. I could see Soph kicking around. Went into surgery. Martin's all gowned up, my ex-husband. Do the Caesar, take the baby. The baby's born. She cries. It didn't register. Martin says to me, babe, we've got a baby girl. I asked him 3 times. I said, do we have a baby girl? We've got a baby girl. And each time he jumps from me to Sophie, to me to Sophie. But 3 times, I think I actually went into a little bit of shock that I had delivered a live baby. And do you know what? She got 10, 10, 10 on her APGAR test at 35 weeks.
She was a little brute.
She was a little brute. So she has been truly a 3-in-1 since the day she was born. I took her home from special care. They told me.
So how was she? You said she's perfect with the APGAR. She was breathing. She was crying. She didn't need any
She did for the
humidifier.
first 24 hours, but
Right.
I think that's just just to make sure everything
Yeah.
continues as it should.
Yeah.
She was fed through a nasal tube, and the
So if she was fed through the tube, were you unable to breastfeed because of her size or?
I think it was. I think that was actually just for the first 2 days until my milk came through.
Right.
Yes, so that was just, yes.
Tiding her over.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Mm.
And yes, she latched on. She did quite well there. And then they told us you won't get her home within 12 days. She came home in 10, of course.
She's a winner.
She's a winner. She's always been a little goer, a little
Yeah.
fighter. She's
Yeah.
amazing. And then she lost my train of thought.
So you got the baby home,
Yes.
and then the room was ready. And how did you feel?
It was surreal, and I'm sure every parent would say this with their first child. You bring the baby home, they're in the bassinet, they're asleep, and you think, what do we do?
Yeah.
What should we do with them now? And we just settled into life, and it was just amazing. My mum was there for the first, I don't know, week or two. Of course, mum had come down, washed all of Sophie's clothes, had them all beautifully ready. My sister in law from the UK, honestly, I'm not kidding, every week or two, a box would arrive, a box would arrive. She was beside herself. She was so excited to have this little niece in Australia, and most of it was Winnie the Pooh. Like everything you can think of, Winnie the Pooh, Sophie had it. And it was just beautiful. We had so many gifts. I must have had well over 100 cards.
Wow. Did
People,
somebody tell the congregation in Sydney?
yes, yes, they did, yes.
Hallelujah! She
Absolutely.
is risen.
She's risen. She is delivered. Yeah, it really is quite a story actually now that I sort of go through it again. It's something you forget about as the years pass. But I believe Sophie, I do call her my miracle because then after Sophie, we tried again and I had two more pregnancies, but they were miscarriages. So I lost the babies, I think it was at about 9 or 10 weeks. And then my dad said to mum one day, and dad's always been, he was a very spiritual person, but we didn't kind of realize it. So dad guessed all three of my pregnancies were girls. He told my mum when she was pregnant that I would be a girl and my brother would be a boy, and he named us. So there was more to dad than we realized, absolutely. And dad actually said to mum, I wish Billie would just give it away. She has one live baby. And I thought, you know what? I'm so lucky and privileged and blessed to have this little girl, and she's healthy. I'm good. I'm done.
So then, so you actively did not fall pregnant? Actively?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's
And
a
I
good
felt very,
decision.
very comfortable with that decision.
Mm,
Yeah.
I just love it. I love it all. Billy, were there things that people said or didn't say that stuck with you during this time?
Yes. Now, it's not often you'll hear me say something negative, but I'm going to say it. The thing that really stuck with me was when people said, I know how you feel. They had no idea how I felt. They had never lost a baby. So, for anyone listening to this podcast who has said that to someone who is going through absolute hell and they haven't actually been through it, I would advise them not to say it. And to the people who have had it said to them, just try to hold your tongue, just like I did, because they are only trying to comfort you. But at the time, it is the worst thing that anyone can say
Yeah.
because you are absolutely going through a living hell in your own mind. You are beating yourself up that you've lost a baby, that your dream has been ripped from
So do
under
you
you.
feel like it was being trivialized by that sentence?
I think so,
Mm.
yes. Yes, I think
It's
so.
okay. I've been there. You'll be right, love.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Mm.
But then, so when I was losing babies, podcasts weren't really a thing. So I threw myself
Pretty
into.
sure iPhones were not a thing, Billy. You definitely had no
Do you know they
podcast.
weren't? You're right. I think
Yeah.
that when Sophie was
3
3 or
or
4 years
4.
old, our
Yes.
friend Stuart
Yes.
gave me his old iPhone 3. So,
So podcasts
yes,
were not a thing.
that's right. Yes, exactly. So, I threw myself into reading what I could online, talking to people, talking to people. So, when something like this happens to you, the support is incredible in Australia. We are very lucky. Um, I was having
Is it
phone
White
call.
Sands? No?
Sands? Yes,
Sands?
Sands. But
Sands.
also to um, the Uniting Care priest or minister. He was calling me from the Wesley Hospital. He was wonderful. And he would put me in touch with people. And he said, look, this person has said they're happy for you to call them to chat to you about their experience, which I did. And I have since offered to anyone who ever tells me about someone they know or if they've gone through it, that I'm happy to talk to them about my
Yeah.
story because I want to give people
And
hope.
you have been there.
I have been there and
You
I can
have.
say, I know how you
I
feel.
know how you feel.
Yes. But even then,
You probably wouldn't even say it
I
then.
don't say it like that. I
No.
say, I can't imagine what you're feeling right now, but I have been through.
Similar.
Correct. Yeah. Not
Tenderly. Mm.
absolutely.
Mm. With
Absolutely.
respect.
With respect.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So, did you ever have the feeling that maybe has Sophie ever said anything about her sisters that kind of shocked you or uh, blew your mind a little bit? Did the sisters ever come through to Sophie?
Do you know what? I think when she was a little girl, because Sophie could see things when she was younger, I think she did tell me when she was in her playroom a couple of times that she'd seen the girls, that they
Did you
were with
talk
her.
about them?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes. Yes, on their
Your
birthdays,
big sisters.
absolutely, yes. And I tell Sophie, you are so lucky because you have these girls watching over you.
Yeah. Have you got in your home any kind of memorial or
Yes, I do, but it's in a cupboard. When I lost Haley, the flowers, because obviously you have to have a funeral as well. So my two baby girls are in white coffins.
you've got them?
They're at a memorial in Brisbane. That's where they are, the girls, buried in an infant garden together. Fortunately, because it was only 9 months between losing the two girls, they've been able to be buried together. So after we lost Hannah, Martin was working for a mortgage broking firm and they very kindly paid for us to go away for 2 nights to Montville and we stayed in a beautiful cabin. And that weekend we bought a canvas which is absolutely in memory of our girls. So, yes, to answer your question, that is the memorial that I have. It always in the houses that I live in, it has pride of place. So, the last two houses that I've built, I've had proper niches built in so that the artwork sits there. When Sophie was a baby, she used to lie in her little bouncer and she would look at it. And I used to feel like she was communicating with the girls. So that is what the memorial is in my home.
I'm going to have no makeup left on my eyes by the time you and I finish speaking. I think that is a beautiful thing to have. And
Yes.
when you walk past it, your girls are there and you can think of them
Absolutely.
constantly.
Absolutely. And do you know what, Belle? So many people say to me, how can you even talk about the girls without bursting into tears? I look at it a different way. It was the most incredible privilege to carry my baby girls for the short time that I was able to carry and nurture them and protect them. It's better that they left this world peacefully rather than maybe being born and severely disabled and not having quality of life. I consider it a blessing and a privilege to have carried the girls. As difficult as it was to lose them, it was part of my journey and it was the way
Yes.
my life was always
This is your
supposed to
life
go.
story.
That's right.
This is part of the life that you lead.
Everybody has a story. That is my great belief.
So you raised your daughter mostly on your own. So we all, as parents, know that that would take extraordinary strength. So what was it that got you through the hardest part of solo parenting?
Family and friends, and the most incredible network that I had built. So when Sophie was only, excuse me, 1 year old, a girlfriend of mine and I, Sandra, locally, we started a playgroup. That playgroup continued on. Sophie and I continued going for 4 years until she started at prep. Most of or many of those women, I am still close friends with today. They are my inner circle. And we had mums that came and went, but at one stage we had about 15 mums. And they were all from our local area in the western suburbs. And it was the most incredible support group. And where we lived at Brookwater, the golf club, they would give us a room, a big room, because at that time our kids were all babies. Like one of my friends, Emma, her daughter Hannah was weeks old. So, and then the golf club actually paid for a heap of toys. And then as the kids got older, we just changed up what we did. We'd go to one family's home this week. Everyone would go there, and another home the following week. But it was every Thursday from 9 to 11, or we'd go to a park. And having that network was incredibly strengthening to have. So that was when I was still with my husband. And then we separated when Sophie was almost 5 years old. And then after that, I still maintained those friendships from playgroup, but then I formed new friendships with friends at school. And there were three other mums who I was incredibly close to, and you were one of them. And we had four girls, or we have four girls. And we would take it in turns to help each other out, to do school pickups. If my husband or my ex-husband couldn't pick Sophie up, one of you girls would help out. In the school holidays, we'd all help out with looking after each other's kids, taking them on play dates. I remember every school holidays, I would take our four girls on my Wednesday off to the cinema, and I'd always go and buy them lollies from Woolies. We'd go to the cinema, then we'd go to a park, and we'd make a whole day of it. And they're just really lovely memories. And another really special memory is for a long time, what we did is every Wednesday, one of us four mums would pick up the four girls and take them home. You would always be doing art with the girls. I would always be doing home baking with the girls. And they're really lovely memories for our children. So yeah, I think it's just having that support network, and that's what really got me through. And I continued that support network. I'm still friends with so many of you today, and it's
Girls
been
need their
wonderful.
girls. We need our girls.
We need our girls, absolutely, yeah. And even through the years, our daughters haven't maybe maintained their friendships to the level that they were, but we've all still continued the communication, and through the sisterhood that we have formed, we've been able to raise our children into the exemplary young
Yeah.
humans that they are
Yeah.
today. And I'm really grateful for
And
that.
I'm grateful that and young mums, if you're listening now and you're looking to have children or you've got young ones, you just wait. Your best friends are likely in that schoolyard when they start school. You know,
Absolutely.
like it's an amazing friendship that you make when the kids are either kindergarten or preschool or school. And yeah, the friendships I've made, you're 100% right.
Yeah,
They're lifelong.
they are. They are.
So Billy, you've built and sold two homes. Now that's an incredible feat for anybody to do, let alone a solo mum of a 5 or 6 year old child. What drove you to take on something so ambitious?
I think that I've always been extremely driven and ambitious. My parents, as I touched on before, they had always been very hard workers. They were very successful, and I guess it was just in my blood to succeed.
And
Um,
building a house to you was succeeding? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So we had to sell our house and our businesses. We lost almost everything when my
When
ex
you
husband and I split up. And then I rented for the next 4.5 years from very dear friends of mine. And then I
so did
decided
you come out with money to spend on
I,
a new property?
I came out with debt. So
Oh,
I had to pay off my credit card. And then my mum actually helped me with a 10% for the first house that I built. And then from there, I've just taken off. So, in order to meet my expenses, I I was working as an office manager for a recruitment agency, and they were very good. They would let me finish work at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, and I had Wednesdays off. So that meant 2 days a week I could pick Sophie up from school. Her father was brilliant with picking her up on the other days, unless he couldn't make it. And that's when you girls would step in, exactly. Um, so, in order to meet my repayments, I had that job. I also took on bookkeeping jobs. So, I would do that most Wednesdays. I would make sure that I would just do that for a few hours so that I could then go and pick Sophie up. The other thing that I started doing was taking in students. So, over a 10-year period, I hosted over 60 international students. And something that I realized.
So technically, that's 4 jobs. I had
Yes, oh,
three in my
yes.
intro.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
And something that I only realized a few years ago, I was I something that I realized a few years ago was that I was never supposed to only be the mother to one. I was to be the mother to many. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of the girls that came out to stay in our home, they were from Japan. Oh my goodness, I love Japanese kids. Then there were probably, I don't know, 10 Chinese, 4 Indonesians. I had a Vietnamese girl, but mostly were Japanese. And a lot of those girls had no life skills. I mean, they would say, "How do I peel a potato?"
Oh wow.
And they were 16 years old.
Wow.
Just they just didn't have life skills because the Japanese are very, very protected
Mm.
by their families, and the
Mm.
mother just did everything for
Mm.
them. So that was my opportunity to
So you
give
were an
back.
educator as well.
Yes. And also to life skills. So
Mm.
they came to my home, and I've always been fastidious in my home, and I expect that from anyone who comes to stay. And the girls would learn. They would watch me and they'd see that the kitchen was completely clean at night time, and I'd get them in to cook with me. I've always loved to bake and cook, and they would love it. Then I had a few of them because I've always been a big walker, not so much now, but I used to do 10K walks a lot of days. They would love to join me. Not all of them, but some of them. One beautiful student, Rikiko, she loved it. Her face would light up. She absolutely loved it. And those girls, I believe, left my home. It wasn't always a walk in the park. It wasn't always like this, let me say that. But most of them left and they were so sad to go. And I had given them some life skills. Some of them would say to me, "I don't know what to do at university. Oh, I feel this pressure to choose." And I would sit down and I would counsel them through it. But it was also a juggling act
So you
because
weren't just a host, you were a mentor.
yeah, a mentor, absolutely. But I also had to be careful that I still made sure Sophie felt seen and heard. And, there were times she didn't particularly like that I'd be taking your girls or our 3 girls on a play date or 4 girls, and a student would come along. She didn't always love that. And then she got to 13 years old because I started hosting when she was 8. And by 13 or 14, she was thoroughly sick of it. But 2 things. Thank you to those families who entrusted me with their girls because that money that I received through hosting absolutely helped me to get to where I am today. But also, too, it was a privilege to look after those girls and to make an impact on their lives. I'm still in touch with at least, oh gosh, there's more than 10 of them. And one of the girls, Natsuki, who you have met, she is like my second daughter.
You visited her in Japan.
Yes,
You
at
went
the
to
end of
America
last
with
year.
her.
Yeah, so when she was staying with us, so she came out on 2 separate occasions as a student. And the second occasion, my family took her to America. So we went to Vegas and to LA. We
So
were
this
away
is
for
this
two
is this is
weeks.
what I'm talking about with you. It is mind-boggling for most people to think about being a single mother, building 2 houses, working 3.5 jobs, and taking trips to America, Japan, Europe. You were amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a busy time. It's really only in recent years as well because it was probably a 7-year period where money was very, very tight all the time because I was trying to do landscaping and finish the houses off and things like that. So I have been very fortunate that finally now, just before I turned 50, I didn't have to feel that way anymore about money. I got a new job, I worked in IT, I've had a considerable pay rise. You touched on my half job, so that's selling skincare. So I've always been
Which is on my
very
face, by
busy.
the way.
I've always been very busy, and I think I always will be. I talk about wanting to semi retire at 58. I can't imagine ever fully retiring. I think I'll always work 2 or 3 days a week. I love the interaction that I get and the camaraderie of having a job and working with
Yeah.
others, and just that financial independence.
So, Billy, for other women walking a similar path to what you walked, what would you say to them?
I went to hell and back. My marriage broke down. My dad was battling cancer for the second time. Sophie started prep, and my dad passed away. And my ex husband had moved on with someone else. That was the most difficult 6 months of my life. I'm very happy to say that today, and pretty much all of the last 15 years since my ex husband and I separated, it's been quite amicable because it is all about the child. So, for anyone listening and you have a separation, I absolutely say make it about the child. It's not about you anymore. Keep things calm for your child. It's not always a walk in the park, but absolutely keep things as calm as possible because it is all about raising your child to be a confident, happy, well adjusted human being. So, what I did at that time, I did the work. I dug deep. I read. And what I started doing, and it really got me through, and I did this for many, many years. My days, I would wake up at about 5:30. I'd do yoga stretches. I'd go and do at least a 3K walk. I would come home. I would get the students and Sophie's breakfast ready. I'd go and sit outside on my patio. I'd write gratitude every day. I wrote what I wanted my life to look like. I wrote gratitude. I felt it. I could literally feel the gratitude around me. It was amazing. I would go to work. I would come home. I had so much energy because I was happy. I actually, through doing the work, and you can have a really nasty inner voice at times, but through doing the work, you can really live a very full and happy life, regardless.
When you say the work, you're talking about self love.
Self love, absolutely, and positivity. Don't wallow in
Don't
what's
sweat the
not
small
right.
stuff.
Don't wallow in what's not going right in life. If something isn't right in your life, fix it. I know it's not a simple fix, but talk to people, research, find ways to fix it. Find ways to make your life better.
And if you can't, let them.
Let them, oh my goodness. And do you know something that is a really big thing for me? People will forget what you said and what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So I always try to make people feel good, and happy and succeeding. Even where I work, I am a bit of a mentor to a lot of the young engineers, because they're just finding their feet and they make mistakes and they feel bad. So, I always try to raise them up because I think if there's more peace and love and happiness in the world, wouldn't it be a better
Uh
place?
huh. Uh huh.
Yeah.
Let's all realize that.
Mm.
So you have a contagious attitude to life. What are you most excited about and what are you looking forward to?
Oh my goodness. So I'm 51 now. I feel like I've made some really good inroads on how my life will look in future and continue to look. So, what I'm most excited about is selling my home, which is all underway, buying the next house, which I'm looking to do with my daughter and getting her on the property ladder. I'm so proud of her. And then we're going to sell that. And then I'm moving into, she thinks she's joining me, but I'm moving into an apartment. It's a new build, so I've already bought off the plan. So I'm really excited. As much as I love gardening, I'm excited to live in a smaller space in the city, enjoy all of my friends and family even more, have the time to enjoy my friends and family even more, and maybe semi-retire at 58
And then
and
become a
do a heap
grandmother.
more traveling and eventually be a grandmother, but do a heap more traveling. I've just come back from Europe and the UK and just more travel, more good times, good health,
Yeah.
continual good health.
Yes. Take
I
care
just
of your
think
body.
aging is a privilege,
Yeah.
and I'm really grateful to be here.
Oh, good. Now, Billy, I've got one question that I ask all of my guests at the end of our interview. End of our episode, I always ask this. Billy, Have you seen a ghost or a UFO?
I have not seen a UFO. I've not actually seen a ghost, but my dad has. Look, we could spend an hour me telling you all of the ways my dad has shown us that he is still around. Can I tell you two?
Yes, I'd love to hear.
Okay, so Sophie, when she was little, so she was almost 5 years old when she lost her puppy. Actually, she was 5 years old, and they were incredibly close. My parents used to say to me, "What did we ever talk about before Sophie was born?" Because it was always
Yeah,
about Soph. She
yeah.
was so loved and still is. And Mum had moved to the Gold Coast to an apartment, and on two occasions, there's an in-ground pool. Sorry, an indoor pool, and on two occasions Sophie was sitting, she was in the pool, and she said, "Oh, Grandy, Poppy's over there." I said, "Where?" Just with his feet dangling in the water, as if it was nothing. And because obviously adults usually can't see them because. So that happened on two occasions. Sophie also used to see her Poppy cheering her on when she was running in sports days. So she doesn't see him anymore, unfortunately. But Sophie used to see Poppy a lot, so he's absolutely been our guiding light. I still talk to my dad. My parents, my mum has always been the loving, nurturing soul. My dad was always the doer, so he would show his love by doing things for us. The other story that I have is when I was in Paros in Greece very recently. I had an experience that I really struggled to articulate. But we'd gone to Patricia, and there's this beautiful, big old church that's hundreds of years old. And I'd been walking through the bottom section, enjoying looking at all of the intricacies. I went upstairs, and there's like a concrete railing. And I looked over down into the church, and I put both my hands on the concrete railing. I leaned forward, I closed my eyes, and I felt held there. Not against my will, but like someone was holding me. For 2 minutes, I kept my eyes closed, and I could just feel this peace, this absolute peace washing over me. And I didn't want to open my eyes. It felt that good. Eventually, I opened my eyes, I stayed still, stood up, and then I broke down in tears.
What do you think it was?
On reflection, I think it was Dad, because about a week later, one of the girlfriends that I was travelling with, her nana shows her that she is around by knocking her hair straightener onto the ground. She did that for the fourth time.
Well, that's annoying. Thanks.
And she woke up this morning and she came out. She said, "Billie, if Nana can be with me in Tuscany, that was your dad in Greece." And I thought, wow. And that day in Greece, I was having a bit of a tough day. And I just think it was my dad saying, "Darling, you're okay. I've got you. I'm here."
I've got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is beautiful.
It really is. Yeah. So, and that was a really lovely feeling because I truly believe my dad is always with us. Always.
Billie, thank you so much for coming here today and opening up to me about your story. I have heard your story before, but never in this level of detail. And I feel privileged to have had you sit here and tell me all about it today.
My pleasure.